So a while back I did a game room tour. People seemed to really enjoy it, so I figured this would be a good time to do a toy room tour, considering I just got the room pretty much how I like it. Anybody who's watched Toy Chasers knows that I collect as much 80s and 90s toys as games, pretty much. Now a lot of these toys I've been collecting way before Toy Chasers, and it's the accumulation of, at this point, maybe 15 years worth of looking at stuff at flea markets and thrift stores. Now, I don't have a dedicated toy room per se. It's really my office where I do all my work. It's where I edit Game Chaser episodes. It's where I edit everything from YouTube to non-YouTube stuff. My thinking was, well, I need a space for an office. I might as well make it a toy room too, and kill two birds with one stone, and I need somewhere to put all my toys. And this is actually not all of the toys that I have. I just simply don't have enough room. That includes the USS Flag, which I ended up getting a few years back, and I simply just don't have the room to put it on display. All these shelves were $20 shelves at Target, so very, very cheap way of displaying your toys. So one of the very first things you notice is, of course, I've got my Gremlins posters up. These posters actually came from the office that I used to work at the production facility. I had these hanging up on the wall and I took them home whenever the company went under. And of course, since I'm obsessed with Gremlins, I have to have my little Gremlins picture here next to the lamp. I don't know exactly where to start, so let's start from the top, I guess. I like each area to have its sort of theme, and this tower right here, I call it the Star Wars Tower for obvious reasons. I've tried to keep it as a certain theme on each level. For example, the top level could be considered The Empire Strikes Back. We have the walkers and all the characters from that particular movie. Going down one, we have more of a Return of the Jedi theme with Akbar, Bobo 2, I don't remember this guy's name, and of course Jabba. And finally we have the Millennium Falcon and a lot of the characters from A New Hope, their style, with some bounty hunters thrown in. Now this tower isn't all Star Wars. Down below, I had to have somewhere to put my Sky Striker, one of my very favorite G.I. Joe toys. And down below that is just miscellaneous Turtles stuff. I'm not a huge collector of Turtles stuff. I was starting to get a little bit out of toys once that line came in. Well, a lot out of toys once that line came in. But my cousin Chris had a bunch of them, so there's still a little bit of nostalgia for them. Over here on the shelf on the right, we have some miscellaneous stuff. We got a sealed box of Batman cereal, muscle figures, which was a really cool toy in the 80s. I really loved collecting muscle figures back in the day. And of course, the Snoopy snow cone machine. Below that, we have more miscellaneous stuff. For instance, here we have a Batman board game, some more G.I. Joes, and one of my favorite Transformers, Skyfire, or Jetfire, however you want to remember him by. Below that, we have more Ninja Turtles stuff. We have an on-card Krang and April O'Neil, some trading cards, and the action figure of Herman Munster. And finally, down below on that shelf, we have more G.I. Joe stuff, a G.I. Joe board game. I remember having this as a kid, and a few of the vehicles, such as the bridge layer. Now, on these two shelves here, we have themes kind of going across for the most part. On top, we have my G.I. Joe stuff. And I would say that G.I. Joe is my favorite toy line of the 80s, slightly above Transformers. They are neck and neck, but I absolutely loved G.I. Joe. And I think the main reason for that is the fact that the vehicles were so cool. At this point, I think I have most of the figures that I had as a kid. The only one I'm really missing now is Spirit. And please do not send me Spirit in the mail. The few toys that I am missing that I really want to get are ones that I want to get on Toy Chasers. I want it to be on camera so I can talk about it. Now down on the shelf below, we have some Transformers. Some of these I had as a kid, a lot of these I didn't. And that goes for pretty much all the toys that I have. Some of these I had as a kid, others I always wanted as a kid and never got. And now as an adult is my chance to finally own them. I don't know if that makes me sad and pathetic. It probably does make me sad and pathetic. Here on the left-hand side, we have all the Decepticons, and my favorites were always the planes. I always had a thing for them. I thought they were super cool. And over here on the right, we have, of course, the Autobots. Some of my favorite were the Dinobots. I think my favorites were, in fact, the Dinobots. How can you not love dinosaurs and robots? And Optimus Prime was really rad as well. Now underneath that, we have some Constructicons, and also we have some Rock Lords. Remember those? And across from those, we have some McDonald's Transformers. These are these little food items that would transform into, well, there were two lines, dinosaurs and robots. And behind that, we have just random VHS tapes. Now we get to the GoBots, and I don't care what anyone says, the GoBots were awesome. I liked them just as much as Transformers. In my mind as a kid, They were Transformers. They were robots that turned into vehicles. So what, they were a little smaller, it didn't matter to me. Plus the GoBots had really cool giant transforming vehicles like this vehicle here in the back, and the name of it escapes me. Underneath that we have a speak and spell. I ended up getting that on Game Chasers episode. Don't remember exactly which one though. And a Light Bright, one of my favorite toys from the 80s. Below that we have a Voltron, big giant Voltron here. I ended up getting that at a Goodwill for like $20. This was a few years back. Now we go to the back side of the room, or the front side, however you want to look at it. This is where I keep books, and I do read a lot. Jay may not read, but I actually read. Most of these books you see here, I read. There's been a few that I ended up getting because I thought were interesting, never got around to it, but most of these I actually have read. And I have a lot of different subjects that I'm interested in. Just everything you can think of. If there's something that interests me, I'll pick it up. Up above that we have empty space, or we did have empty space. I saw it as an opportunity to put a few things up there that weren't fitting anywhere else, such as a lamp, but also some Munsters stuff, and they look over me and they judge me as I edit. And also this Night Raven, definitely my very favorite jet of the G.I. Joe toy line. Now spinning around, this isn't the best setup here. I got a bookshelf that's kind of blocking a piece of the bookshelf, but that's just the space that I have to work with, and there's not much I can do about it. But I have some more books in here. At the top I have The Art of Drew Struzan, and next to that we have a really cool book, The Art of Atari, that I highly recommend. I also love collecting Star Wars books, the old EU, the Legends now. Below that we have more paranormal books. Now these are really old ones. They're UFO books from the 60s and 70s. I do have a thing for these because I would read them a lot in the library at elementary school. Yes, we had UFO books at the library at elementary school. So all the kids would go there and read about all these different adventures and stuff, and I would go read UFO books. So it was something I was interested in as a little kid. Now the bookshelf extends all the way this way, and I have a bunch of taller books that won't fit on the other bookshelf. A lot of art books, some graphic novels. I have more graphic novels that I need to file in here, but I just hadn't got around to it, and some Star Wars hardcovers. Above that we have plastic models. I loved plastic models growing up, and my favorites were the Starship Enterprise. Over here on this next shelf we have more plastic models. We have a Star Wars theme going here. I know I've gotten some of these on Game Chasers. Below we have just a small section of Gremlins stuff that I haven't been able to fit on my main Gremlins area. Speaking of Gremlins, you knew this was gonna be a thing. I have so much Gremlins stuff. I have more stuff than I ever knew even existed, because the awesome fans, a lot of you guys, have sent me so much stuff. I kind of have a theme going on here too. First off, we have this big guy. This is from NECA. This was given to me by Bobby, who runs the SoCal Gaming Expo. The first level here, we have some NECA figures, and I love NECA. Their sculpts are absolutely amazing. They're very, very, very lifelike, movie lifelike, and they look just like what they're supposed to. The only issue I have is sometimes the joints are kind of iffy. This first level here is Gremlins 1, the very first movie themed, and there's not as many toys of those. Above that, we have the Gremlins 2 theme, and these are all characters from NECA, and they're from the Gremlins 2 movie, and I just want to keep them all there. I really love what I did with the spider gremlin here with some fake spider webs. I think it kind of gives it a nice little look here. On the shelf above that, well, the two shelves above that, we have vintage stuff. All this stuff is just anything vintage related to Gremlins. Anything from books to thermoses to figures to packaging to anything you can think of. Cups, trading cards, records, CDs, laser discs, lunchboxes. It's Gremlins and it's vintage. It's on these two shelves. I never had any of these toys growing up. That's the funny thing. I never had anything Gremlins related. But it's still very nostalgic for me because the movie is very nostalgic for me. Now over here on the back wall, we have my Star Wars posters. Gotta have Star Wars posters in any office. That's just a given. We have my Star Trek 3 VHS promo poster. This was up in VHS rental places. And we have a miscellaneous shelf here full of just miscellaneous stuff. And up on top we have my keyboard where I perfect my sound. I'm always perfecting my sound and making sure that my sound speaks to everyone listening, and it's important to me. You'll notice the LEDs and all the salt lamps and the lighting, and I just have never been one to be creative in just a standard, here's some overhead yellow lights, just get to work. Any office I've ever been in that's required creativity, whether it be this one or the ones that I've previously worked at, they've all had some sort of mood lighting because that's what I just feel like I'm better at creating stuff in, and it's just psychological, very psychological, I realize that, but creating things are psychological, so it goes hand in hand. And it may be cheesy and it may be dumb, but I don't care. I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. In fact, here is my desk, and you can see that it's surrounded by all these different lights. And of course, I have my Star Trek theme here. And I just like surrounding my stuff when I work with things that I enjoy, and they bring inspiration. The Star Trek movies growing up I was very inspired by them because I always were interested in how they made those movies. So they were always influential on me, and they were always very inspiring. So it's to have them here next to me while I'm working is something that I really like. And I have to have 3 monitors here because editing is just so much easier with multiple monitors. It really is. You can put different bins and different sections of the editing program in different screens and not have to squint, and it helps when you're searching for things, and it just makes life easier as an editor. I do not game on this machine at all. In fact, I don't PC game at all. So these monitors and this computer is strictly for editing. Now, I needed somewhere to put my extra toy boxes, and I figured what better place than up above on top of this desk, because it's a bunch of unused space. I have everything from Star Wars to G.I. Joe, I have plastic models, and I have this Technodrome that's just chilling. I never had the Technodrome growing up. Again, I really wasn't into turtles, but I mean, I have it, so why not? And a couple more G.I. Joe jets. I really love the Rattler. In fact, I think I got this on Toy Chasers as well. I realized that I probably have too much stuff. That's what happens when you go to the flea market so many times over the course of 10 years. You're just gonna accumulate a bunch of stuff that you don't really need. And do I need all these toys? Of course I don't. But they bring a smile to my face. They bring happy, thoughtful memories and remind me of how awesome it was to be a kid. So it really does, I think, put me in a better mood, especially when I'm working from home, which can be daunting because you're not able to separate your work life from your home life, and it just kind of meshes into one thing, and it can be very, very, very hard. And I know that's kind of hard to understand, and some people would really love to be able to do that, but after a while it does start to beat you down a little bit. It's hard to explain. So having this environment where it's just so vastly different from anywhere else in the house, where I can just kind of come in and just encompass myself in that world, especially if I'm editing a Game Chasers or Toy Chasers where it's nerdy stuff. I'm surrounded by nerdy stuff, and it's very inspiring, and I think it helps me be creative. To me, it works out perfectly. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think.